Hey folks, in today's video I'm going to show you how to install the extension table and the brackets for the N4400. It's extremely simple to do, and once you have it installed, it's something that you'll use quite often. I ripped a 46.5-inch long board and I didn't have to set up any roller stands or anything like that. It's got plenty of support. Now I've got another extension table that's going to be going on the right side here, and that's a little bit shorter, but that's going to come in handy for cutting things like circle cutting jigs and all of that. But the good thing is, once you learn how to install this extension table, it's the same thing on the one on this side as well. So it's pretty straightforward. Let's get right into it. Before we can install the table, we need to install the actual mounting rail. This kit comes with several parts. You've got the mounting rail itself. You've got this mounting bracket that you will attach to the bottom of the table. And this mounting bracket is what the actual mounting rail will connect to. We've got 4 bolts. You have 2 that are 20 millimeter in length, and you have 2 that are 25 millimeter in length. You've got 2 locking nuts and 2 square washers. So this is the outfeed portion of the table. You'll notice underneath, if you can see it, I got a bolt hole here and one over here. It's a little dark. So we're going to take the bracket, and you'll notice that it has 4 holes. We're going to be using the outermost holes, flipping it up so that it's like this, and mounting it again using the 20 millimeter bolts using a 17 millimeter socket. Now with the remaining components, you've got this 25 millimeter bolt, the locking nut, and you have this square washer. Now it's important to note the square washer has these 2 contact points. They need to be facing out so that when you install this bolt, it's going to lock that head in place when you're tightening down this locking nut. Now we're going to install this like that, and then take the nut from underneath and get that started. When you install these, you're going to leave them a little loose because we still need to slide the mounting rail through here. And if you make it too tight, as you can see here, we can't fit it in there. So just keep working on it and give it just the right amount of slack. And you notice the back side of the mounting rail has this channel that this slides in. Now to set the location, it needs to be 17 millimeters down from the top of the table. So I've got a combination square set to 17 millimeters, and I've got the bolts loose enough to where I can tap it up, but tight enough that it's going to hold it in place. So now I'm just going to go on each end and lightly tap it up. Now the mounting rail is installed. Before I show you how to assemble this clamping mechanism, I wanted to show you kind of the theory behind it and what it looked like when it was assembled and in place, because when I first got it out of the bag, I was a little confused as to A, where it went, and B, what it was used for. So you can look at the spacing at the front here on this extension table. I'd imagine this is a universal table that fits several different of their machines, so they may have different rail thicknesses. So the first thing that we needed to do using this was to prevent it from sliding forward and backward. You'll notice this bolt has a washer on it, and it's the perfect length so that it doesn't have any sliding forward and backward. Now next, the rest of this kit installed is to keep it nice and tight up against the bottom of the mounting rail, and it's going to be easy to uninstall. Just loosen this, take it off, slide the extension table out, and you can put it to the side. Now that I have it installed, I understand it and the theory behind it, so let me show you how to assemble this little clamping assembly. Okay, so here's your parts. You've got 2 bolts that are the same thickness and length. Those go in the holes. Next, you're going to have 2 nuts. You're going to have a thinner one and a thicker one. You're going to have a small one, but that goes with the bolt that goes in the front. So take the thicker bolt, or thicker nut rather, and install it. You can guesstimate where it's going to go. When it gets underneath, you can adjust that accordingly. And the thinner nut, again, install that. Next, you've got the steel plate, and it installs just like that. The longer end goes toward the front because the front has the hole for this smaller bolt. And again, you can adjust all of this stuff underneath. But until then, what we can do is install the locking nut on the right side. And then on this side, you're going to have the washer and your little toggle arm. And finally, you've got this smaller bolt. Install the nut first, then the washer, and then on the front side of this bar, you've got the threaded hole for that. And I found that you can start this at right around 1/2 inch, protrudes from the end of the bar to the bottom of the bolt. That's a good starting point. And this whole assembly can be set to the side while we install the leg on the extension table. Installing the leg is pretty simple. You've got the bolts on the bottom that slide through the channel on the bottom side of the extension table. Now you'll notice that the leg has these little toggle clamps. I'm facing those on the inside of the table. It's just a personal preference, just to make sure that they're out of the way. Now it's pretty easy to install this. Just slide the bolts inside of the channel and tighten them down. And finally, we can install the clamping mechanism. It's pretty straightforward. It's got the 2 bolts that slide in the groove. Now, you want to keep an eye out for this. One of the most important things about this is that that washer makes contact with the front side of the extension table. If you have these washers too high under here, it's going to come up too high and it's not going to make contact, because this is what's going to help you prevent this from rocking back and forth inside of the mounting rail. So adjust these nuts accordingly so that it keeps this down nice and tight. And then when you tighten this down, it's not going to move. And then with this up against that table and that nut against the washer, it's going to be nice and tight. So the extension table has been installed. Now we need to make sure that it's level with the table on the bandsaw. So to do that, I'm just going to use a level and clamp it down to the table so that I can extend it over, and you'll see it on the back that it's kind of low. So to fix it, it's really, really simple. Just loosen up one of these knobs on the leg and lift up until it touches, and then tighten it back. And that is perfect all the way across. Now the final thing we need to check is that the top of the extension table is not higher than the table on the bandsaw. So just take a board, run it over, and make sure that it's good to go. Now if for some reason the top of your extension table was higher and it was hitting, it's a really simple fix. Just take the 17mm wrench, loosen the bolts, just barely loosen the bolt, and then tap this down using that rubber mallet until it's smooth and the same height as the table, and then tighten those back up and it's good to go. But for now, mine's perfect. Now this wouldn't be a fun video if I didn't show you this in use. So I've got a board that is 46.5 inches long that I'm going to rip on the bandsaw. As you can see, I don't have to put up any roller stands. The entire board is supported from the extension table. And I've got a second extension table that I'll be installing on the right side. It's a shorter one, but that's going to support it when I'm doing cutting circles and stuff like that, or have wider boards. So as you can see, installing this table is really simple. The only thing that probably slowed me down a little bit was the clamping mechanism, just trying to figure out in my head, how do I assemble this? What is it really used for? But now that I've seen it and installed it, I'm going to be able to do the other one really, really fast, and it's no problem at all. So as you saw, I was able to cut a 46.5 inch long board, rip it, and I didn't have to worry about any of the outfeed support because this extension table took care of that for me. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I can just loosen this up, take the clamping assembly off, fold this leg under, and then I can put this extension table to the side and it's out of the way, pull it back out when I need it, and it's ready to go. So I really like that about the extension tables. That combined with how easy it is to install, it's a must-have accessory for the N4400. And after this video, I'm going to be setting up and installing the brackets for the side extension table. A little bit shorter, but it's extremely useful. So hope you enjoy the video and learned a thing or two. If you did, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.